Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Rahul Dogra and let's continue studying a chapter of social studies. Now this is the second part of the chapter that we were studying, the Behmani Shah dynasty, right? This one is called the Shah dynasties. Now how are the Shah dynasties related to the Behmani Shah empire? Well, they're actually part or were part of the Behmani Shah empire. Now if you guys remember, I told you last time about Muhammad Gavan, right? Who got executed by the Sultan and his death brought the downfall of the Behmani Shah dynasty. Well, what happened was after he died, the Sultan of that time, Muhammad Shah III, also ended up dying a year later, and there was nobody capable enough left to rule the empire. All the next sultans were too young, and there was nobody loyal like Muhammad Gavan who would rule the empire without his own gains. Because of that, people who wanted gains and wanted power ended up breaking the empire into five different parts. Over here on this picture, you can see these different states, right, or empires: Ahmednagar, Bijapur, Bidar, Golconda. All of this was actually part of the Behmani Shah Empire, which got divided into five parts: Ahmednagar, Bidar, Bijapur, Golconda, and there's another one called Birar, somewhere over here. So what happened is all of them together are known as the Shah dynasties. Today we are going to study what happened to them and how they came upon. This PPT was made by Shahadhun. Right? Let's get started. Introduction. Now, like I had told you guys, after Muhammad Gavan, there was nobody left who could strongly rule the Behmani kingdom. All the sultans who came to power after Muhammad III were incompetent to rule, a major reason being that they were way too young. Muhammad Shah III was 26 when he died, and the next sultan who came after him was just a little boy. Over here you can see that the next sultan who came to power after Muhammad Shah III was Muhammad. But at that time he was a little boy and could not rule the kingdom. Because of this, what ended up happening was that the nobles started gaining power, and then the strongest nobles divided the empire for themselves. The last kingdom of the Behmani Shah empire was Sultan Kalimullah Shah. After his death, the Behmani kingdom was broken into five states of Shahi. Like I told you guys, the Behmani Shah kingdom was broken down into five parts. First was the Adil Shahs of Vijaypur, which was known as Bijapur at that time. Then there were the Barid Shahs of Bidar, followed by the Qutub Shahs of Golconda. The last two were the Nazim Shahs of Ahmednagar and the Imad Shahs of Birar. Now these five states did not have that good relationship with each other, but they all united to fight against the Vijayanagar Empire. Adil Shahs of Vijaypura or Bijapur, who ruled from 1489 to 1686 CE. Their founder was Yusuf Adil Khan, who himself ruled from 1489 to 1510 CE. Now, interestingly, he was actually a slave who was bought by Muhammad Gavan, but thanks to his bravery and personality, he managed to rise the ranks and even gained the Sultan's favor. And then he was made the governor of Bijapur. After the Sultan and Muhammad Gavan both died and the Behmani Empire started declining, he broke apart from it and started his own dynasty, the Adil Shahi dynasty. He was succeeded by Ismail Adil Khan, who ruled from 1510 to 1534 CE. And then came Ibrahim Adil Shah. Now you guys must be wondering, how did Khan become Shah at this point? Well, Khan is actually an inferior surname to Shah. Like Khan means king, while Shah means emperor. Now Yusuf Adil Khan was a slave. That's why he had the Khan next to his name. Ibrahim Adil Shah changed his name from Khan to Shah, and that's why he has Shah in his name. Ibrahim Adil Shah is known for making the old Jamia Masjid, and he ruled from 1535 to 1558 CE. Then came Ali Adil Shah I, who ruled from 1558 to 1580 CE. Now, Ali Adil Shah allied with the other Muslim kings and states that had broken down from the Behmani Empire, mainly Golconda, Ahmednagar, and Bidar, and together they brought down the Vijayanagar Empire. Now, from the loot he gained from the Vijayanagar Empire, he built Gagan Mahal, Ali Roza, Chand Baudi, and a lot of monuments. Ali did not have a son. That's why his nephew Ibrahim Adil Shah II came to power. Now Ibrahim Adil Shah II is known to be the most successful out of all the rulers of the Adil Shahi dynasty. Under him, the kingdom was very prosperous. He was also known for his intelligence, bravery, and passion towards Hindu music and philosophy. After him came Muhammad Adil Shah, who ruled from 1626 to 1656 CE. He is known for building the Gol Gumbaz, which has the largest dome in the world. Then came Ali Adil Shah II. Now here is where it gets interesting. Ali Adil Shah II is known for bringing the downfall of the Adil Shahi dynasty. During Ali Adil Shah's stay, two prominent enemies of the Adil Shahi dynasty came to power. One was Aurangzeb, who was trying to conquer South India, and the other was Shivaji, who was trying to start the Maratha Empire. Now, Shivaji has an interesting relationship with the Adil Shahi dynasty. His father worked as an army commander for the Adil Shahi dynasty. He was neither able to stop Aurangzeb nor Shivaji from doing anything, and because of that, he lost a lot of his empire to Shivaji and Aurangzeb. After his death, Sikandar Adil Shah came to power. He was only 5 years old when he was sat on the throne. Because of this, all the nobles and politicians were fighting among themselves to gain control of the empire, similar to what happened with the Behmani Empire at its ending stage. Although Sikandar Adil Shah was young, but he still managed to rule properly. He managed to stop Aurangzeb from taking over the city and sieging it for almost an entire year, but in the end he lost. After that, Aurangzeb came, took over the city, and sentenced him to prison. And then the Adil Shahi dynasty came to an end. As we already know, Yusuf Adil Khan was the founder of the Adil Shahi dynasty of Vijaypur. He was a good administrator and tolerant towards other religions. After him, his son Ismail Adil Khan came to power. Now, Yusuf Adil Khan is also known for building the citadel and the Farooq Mahal, and he is considered a man of culture. He used to invite poets and artisans from Persia, Turkey, and Rome to his court. He is also well known for taking advantage of the Bahmani Empire's decline to start his dynasty. Ibrahim Adil Shah II, who ruled from 1580 to 1626 CE. Now, like I told you guys, Ibrahim Adil Shah II was one of the greatest rulers of the Adil Shahi dynasty. Under him, the kingdom expanded as far south as Mysore and became very rich. He also had a title called Jagat Guru Badshah. Now, what does that exactly mean? Well, it means that he used to love music and he used to sing, and he even built a city which he wanted to turn into a musical city. He was tolerant of all other religions. He sheltered many Hindu philosophers, poets, and musicians in his court. He renovated Dutta temples in his fort and encouraged puja rituals. He worked for the cultural harmony of Hindu-Muslim. Now, this was actually a big thing, guys, because the other Muslim kings at that time were trying to eliminate Hindus and turn their populations into full Muslim. But he, Ibrahim Adil Shah II, worked in bringing Hindu-Muslim relationships to a good point. He wrote a book called Kitab-e-Nawaraz and tried to make music popular among Muslims. The book begins with worshipping the gods like Ganpati, Saraswati, Bhairava, and others. He himself also was a great musician. Ibrahim Roza, which is famous for its architecture, was built by him. In the end, he was one of the greatest rulers of the Adil Shahi dynasty and one of the last rulers of the Adil Shahi dynasty. Now here you guys can see Ibrahim Roza of the Vijaypura in all its glory. Now you guys must be wondering what this building exactly is for, right? Well, it was a tomb for Ibrahim Adil Shah II. This is his final resting place. Bharat Shahs of Bidar, who ruled from 1489 to 1619 CE. Now, unlike the Adil Shahi dynasty, the Bharat Shahi dynasty did not fare that well. The first three sultans they had were strong, but the rest that followed were incompetent and ended up losing their kingdom to Ibrahim Adil Shah II of Vijaypura. Now, the founder of the Bharat Shahi dynasty, Qasim Barid, was interestingly also a slave bought by the Bahmani Empire. He and Yusuf Adil Khan, the founder of the Adil Shahi dynasty, were both Georgian slaves. Qasim Barid managed to climb the ranks and became the prime minister of the Behmani Sultanate. After him, his son Amir Barid was a master manipulator, and all the Behmani sultans that ruled under him were mere puppets in his hands. Later on, his son Ali Barid Shah the first succeeded him. Now, Ali Barid Shah was the first to add the Shah in his name, and he, together with the other Muslim kings, raided Vijayanagar and defeated it. But after him, the next kings that came to power were very weak. Like Ibrahim and his brother Qasim, both were incompetent kings, and later on, the rest of the family started eyeing the throne for themselves, because of which a civil war happened in Bidar. Thanks to this, Ibrahim Adil Shah easily managed to capture Bidar, and Bidar became a part of the Adil Shahi dynasty. Qutub Shahs of Golconda, who ruled from 1512 to 1687 CE. Now, the Qutub Shahi dynasty was as interesting as the Adil Shahi dynasty, but we do not know much about them. That is because Ibrahim Adil Shah II had actually paid a poet and Sufi saint to write down the history of the Adil Shahs and their exploits. That is why we know so much about the Adil Shahi dynasty. Unfortunately, no other Shah had done that, and that is why we do not know much about them. What we do know though about the Qutub Shahs that they were secular rulers. Under their rule, Hindu-Muslim relations improved a lot. In fact, Hindus even started celebrating festivals like Diwali and Holi again, and their administration also had many high-ranking Hindu officials. They even adopted the local language of the state at that time, which was Telugu, and used it so much that they were considered Telugu sultans. The founder of the Qutub Shahi dynasty was Quli Qutub Shah. He was from Turkey, who had migrated to India to work under the then Behmani Sultan. Later on, when the state broke up into 5 parts, he conquered Golconda and declared himself the Sultan of the state. He ruled the state with good administration and was a very able military commander. Under his rule, Golconda grew a lot. He had even forced the then Odisha ruler to give up all the territories between the river of Ganga and Krishna. I mean Krishna and Godavari. Unfortunately though, he was killed by his own son in 1543 CE. Not only did his son kill him, but he also did it at a time when he was praying. Yes, when Quli Qutub Shah was offering namaz, that is when his son came up from behind him, stabbed him and killed him. His son Jamshed also blinded his own older brother so that he could not rule, and ended up killing his younger brother. As his son Jamshed was killing all his brothers, one of his brothers, the sixth son of Quli Qutub Shah Ibrahim, managed to escape to Vijayanagar. Later on, this would have a profound impact on the Qutub Shahi dynasty. Now, as we can see, Jamshed was on his way of becoming Aurangzeb 2.0, but fortunately or unfortunately, he ended up getting cancer and died only a few years later. He managed to rule only from 1544 to 1550 CE, 6 years. After his death, nobody wanted his son to rule, and because of that, they brought back Ibrahim Qutub Shah. When Ibrahim came back to rule, he had spent nearly 7 years in Vijayanagar, and this had changed him a lot. He had learnt a lot about Hindu Telugu culture. So much that he even adopted Telugu ways of dressing, food, and so on. He even changed his name, Malki Behrama, which is basically his name with a strong Telugu accent. Because of him, the Shahs were known as Telugu Sultans. He ended up marrying a Hindu woman, and he also gave jobs and posts to a lot of Hindu people. During his rule, he also turned Golconda into a beautiful city and changed his capital from Golconda to Hyderabad in 1589 CE. After him, his son Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah came to power and was the last strong ruler of the Qutub Shahi dynasty. After that, whoever came, Abdul Qutub Shah, Abdul Hassan, and others, they all were incompetent kings and ended up surrendering to the Mughals. Here you guys can see a picture of Quli Qutub Shah, the founder of the Qutub Shahi dynasty, and his son Ibrahim. Nazim Shahs of Ahmednagar ruled from 1490 to 1636 CE. This dynasty was founded by Malik Ahmad Nazim Shah, who was a chief of Junair province, founding his own state of Ahmednagar. His father was a Hindu Brahmin who became the Prime Minister of the Behmani Sultanate after the death of Muhammad Gavan. And after his father died, Malik Ahmad broke apart from the Behmani Empire and started his own empire, the Nazim Shahi dynasty. He took Daulatabad under his control and expanded his empire. But unfortunately, after him, most of the people who came to rule were incompetent and did not really do anything. Burhan, Huzan Nazim Shah, Murtaza were all sultans just for namesake. After the death of the last regent, Chand Bibi, Ahmednagar declined, and then later on in 1637 CE, it was captured by the Mughal Empire and became a part of the Mughal Empire. Imad Shahs of Berar, who ruled from 1490 to 1580 CE. Now, like we studied, after the fall of the Bahmani kingdom, 5 sultan states came to exist. We have already learnt about 4 of them, and here is the final one, Imad Shah dynasty of Berar. It was situated between the rivers of Penganga and Wainganga. It was founded by Fatullah, who also had a title called Imadul Mulk. This title was given to him by Muhammad Gawan himself. Now, an interesting story here is that Fatullah was actually a Hindu Brahmin. So how did he end up becoming Fatullah Imad Shah? Well, you guys remember that the 5 sultans were in a battle against Vijayanagar. During one of those fights, they managed to capture some of the subjects of Vijayanagar. Among them was a small boy. He was later grown up as a Muslim and ended up becoming Fatullah. After his death in 1504 CE, his son Alauddin Imad Shah came to power. Now, out of the 5 sultanates, the Imad Shahs were the weakest. They were not able to rule even a full 100 years. Alauddin Imad Shah was an incompetent king. After him, his son Darya Imad Shah also was not able to do much and continued battles with the Berar dynasty, losing most of those battles. After the death of Darya Imad Shah, his little son Burhan Imad Shah came to power. He too was not able to do much, and the empire ended up being ruled by an Aspar called Tufail Khan. Later on, the Berar dynasty fell in the hands of the Vijaypura sultans. Like I said, the Imad Shah dynasty was the weakest out of all the dynasties. The contributions of Adil Shahs. Now, like I had told you guys, out of the 5 sultanates, the Adil Shahi Sultanate was the most successful and prominent one. This is also one of the reasons why people believe that the Adil Shahs descended from the Ottoman sultans, because ruling was in their blood. Now, during their rule of almost 200 years, the Adil Shahs of Vijaypura contributed a lot in terms of education, literature, music, fine arts, sculpture, and so on. We are going to study about some of them. First of all, education. The Adil Shahs were great lovers of education and they encouraged it. Their education policy was to develop Islamic culture. Because of that, they used to build muktubs and madrasas. Muktubs were mosques, which were for prayers and religious studies, while madrasas were colleges. Now, madrasas used to teach about knowledge, law, poetry, literature, and many other subjects. Most of these educational institutions were under the king's patronage, which means that the sultan was the one who funded them and ran them. Literature. Now, the contribution of the Adil Shahis to literature is also very high. One of the reasons being that the Adil Shahi sultans were poets themselves. Many of the Adil Shahi sultans have written poetry books, and most of these books have been written in Persian, Arabic, Urdu, and Kannada languages. Now, here we have a table of some of the poets and languages that were prominent during the Adil Shahi dynasty. First of all, we have Farishta. who was a Persian poet, and some of their works include Tariq-e-Farishta, Gulshan-e-Ibrahim, which is in Persian. Next, we have Abdul, who was an Urdu poet, and his work includes Ibrahim Nama. Then we have Mullah Nasrati, who was another Urdu poet, and his work includes Ali Nama. Last but not the least, we have Narhari of Taravi, who spoke Kannadi, and his work includes Toravi Ramayana. Now comes music. I had already told you guys that some of the Adil Shahi Sultans were great poets, but some of them were also great musicians, such as Yusuf Adil Shah and Ibrahim Adil Shah II. Ibrahim Adil Shah's Kitab-e-Navras was a great work of music. He also opened a music school and ensured that women of royal and rich families who were interested in music were allowed to study there. That was a big thing during that time because women were quite discriminated against. Then we have fine arts. Ibrahim Adil Shah II was not only a great musician, but he was also a fine artist. His court had many Persian artists. Beautiful paintings of flowers, plants, creepers, and other nature scenes were painted on their houses, walls of mosques, and floors. You can imagine that the scenery was quite beautiful. Even his palace had a lot of such beautiful paintings. These paintings help to know aspiration, interests, and traditions of the people of that time. Art and sculpture. Now, the art and sculpture is the biggest contribution of the Vijayapura Sultans compared to the other ones because it is the only one that has survived throughout history. In fact, if you look at the history of the art and sculpture of Karnataka, the buildings of the Adil Shahis are the most important ones. They built forts, palaces, mosques, and tombs. Their monuments were in an Indo-Islamic style, and this later on influenced the architectural style of Karnataka as well. Fort. This is the main fort of Vijayapura where most of the Adil Shahis ruled from. It is a huge one and has 96 bastions, which is the dome that is built on top of a fort, and 6 main entrances. They also built a lot of palaces or mahals, such as the Gagan Mahal, which was built in 1620 CE by Ibrahim Adil Shah. It has 3-storied towers. Then there is the Mehtar Mahal, which is also a 3-storied palace. It was built by Ibrahim Adil Shah II. It is famous for its fine and delicate decorations. Finally, we have the Asar Mahal. It has rooms which have different paintings painted on them, a example of their fine art skills. Now, these are the palaces we were discussing about. Here on the left, you can see the Gagan Mahal, which was built by Ibrahim Adil Shah and has 3-storied towers. Then in the middle, you can see the Mehtar Mahal, which also has 3-storied towers and was built by Ibrahim Adil Shah II. On the extreme right, you can see the Asar Mahal, which had paintings in each one of its rooms. Now we're already done with forts and palaces, so let's go to mosques. First of all, the Jama Masjid. It was built by Ali Adil Shah. It is famous for its very wide prayer hall. It is a common building without any decorations, but it has an architectural style which is different compared to all the other art monuments. Then we have the Ibrahim Roza. Now, you guys are going to be surprised to find out that India actually has 2 Taj Mahals. A Taj Mahal in North India and another in South India. The Ibrahim Roza is the Taj Mahal of South India. It was built by Ibrahim Adil Shah II in memory of his wife, Taj Begum. It has the tombs of both Ibrahim and his wife along with his relatives. In fact, it is the only Roza in India. The mosque and its tomb are built on an elevated platform with a garden around them and a compound wall as well. This is why it's called a Roza, the Ibrahim Roza. So next time you guys are not sure which tourist location to go to in South India, be sure to check out the Ibrahim Roza. Here you can see one of the many mosques built by the Adil Shahs, the Juma Mosque of Vijayapura. Gol Gumbaz. Now, an interesting thing to note here is, guys, that most of the monuments that were built by the Adil Shahs were actually built to one-up each other. What that basically means is that every Adil Shahi Sultan who came to power wanted to build a monument better than the previous Sultan. And this is one of the reasons why we got the Gol Gumbaz. The Sultan that came after Ibrahim, Muhammad, wanted to build something which was even bigger and greater than the Ibrahim Roza. And because of that, he built the Gol Gumbaz, a domed tomb in 1656 CE at Vijaypura. It has a huge dome with a whispering chamber inside. It is a very fine example of the technology that was available at that time. It is the fourth largest dome in the world and the first largest dome in India. A few other important monuments whose history we won't go into but look at are Bara Kaman, Bade Kaman, Ananda Mahal, Upli Burj, Taj Baudi, Chand Baudi, and so on. Below you guys can see the pictures of some of these monuments. On the left we have the Bara Kaman. On the right we have the Upli Burj, and in the middle we have the Ananda Mahal. Here we can see two more monuments, the Taj Baudi on our left and the Chand Baudi on our right. Now you guys must be wondering what exactly Baudi means. Well, Baudi basically means place used to store water. The Chand Baudi is a 13-story deep well which was used to collect water, while the Taj Baudi is a water reservoir which was used to store water. Now, I don't know how many of you have watched Tanhaji, but this is basically the cannon from that film, the Malik-e-Maidan, a huge cannon with enough power to take down a fort in a single shot. It was used by the Adil Shahis to take down many of their enemies. In fact, it is so popular that the East India Company tried to take this with them, along with the other war spoils they had taken, such as the Peacock Throne and the Kohinoor. But unfortunately for them, or fortunately for us, it was too huge for them to transport and they were forced to leave it behind. Here you can see the Malik-e-Maidan in all its glory. Finally, we are ending our study about the Bahmani Empire and the five sultanates that followed. Here is a chronological period of all the events that had transpired. We can see that the rise of the Bahmani kingdom from 1347 CE to 1527 CE. After that, the establishment of a madrasa in Bidar in 1461 CE, the rule of the Adil Shahs from 1489 to 1672 CE, then the construction of the Ibrahim Roza, which happened in 1626 CE, the construction of the Gol Gumbaz, which happened in 1656 CE, which was the last monument of the Adil Shahi dynasty. That's all, folks. See you next time. Goodbye.